So
good evening, everybody, or good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in this global communication. It's great to be here with dear friends and highly valued colleagues, Lynn and Victor Brick, Lynn and Victor, Victor and Lynn, are pioneers in the wellness movement globally. They are founders of the John W. Brick Foundation for Mental Health, which has supported mental health research for many, many years. They are on the board of the Department of Psychiatry at Johns Hopkins University, and they are on the board of the Global Wellness Institute. We could go on. They are the owners of dozens of Planet Fitness franchises and are leaders in America in the fitness world, and have recently launched a certification program for wellness practitioners that we're going to hear about today, that is really taking the field of fitness training into mental wellness support work through a certification program. It's been a real honor and privilege to work with Lynn and Victor for many years now, and I'd like to invite you both to share your presentation with us.
absolutely.
Lynn and Victor, Victor and Lynn.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for that wonderful introductions, and welcome everyone to How to Put a Dent in the Universe for Mental Well-Being. We're very honored and excited to share this information with you today. So while many people realize or know that we are in the middle of a mental health crisis, what many may not realize is that we're in the beginning of a mental health renaissance. And this renaissance is being driven by self-care approaches such as exercise, nutrition, and mind-body practices, which is very exciting. The John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation, also known as JWB, has gathered the most relevant evidence-based research along with practical application to create the very first mental well-being certification for fitness professionals. We're very excited about this project. It's crafted under the expertise and top professionals from around the world that focus on psychiatry, psychology, mental health, as well as fitness. And the certification was developed by the Mental Wellbeing Association, which is a division of the JWB Foundation. Now, the purpose of the certification is to provide tools and education for fitness and wellness professionals or practitioners. And in addition, it's helped to develop and strengthen coping skills, and also to create meaningful connections for others as well as for themselves. While you may not be a fitness professional listening to this webinar right now or podcast, these principles are universal, regardless of which industry you practice. Today, we're going to discuss the why behind the JWB and the MWA, the Mental Wellbeing Association. We're also going to discuss specific topics, objectives, and principles about the mental well-being certification, and also give you an opportunity to experience some self-care practice firsthand.
So any discussion about the Mental Wellbeing Association has to start with the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation. And the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation is named after my oldest brother, John, who suffered from schizophrenia his entire life, and never in all of his years of treatment, sometimes in the best institutions in the world, was he put on a fully integrated, well-rounded program that included such things as exercise, diet, mind-body practices, and nutrition, in addition to the traditional forms of treatment. And the traditional forms, we call them the big three. And the big three are psychoanalysis, which is
talk therapy,
medication, and institutionalization. It was always the latter, not integration of self-care approaches as well. And the more we got into fitness, and my brother John passed from complications of schizophrenia. You notice I say complications because schizophrenia technically is not a, quote, terminal disease. And we truly believe that over time, the medicine simply wore my brother out. And he died as much from the treatment as from the disease itself. So the more we got into fitness, the more we realized there had to be a better way. And with that, we started the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation, whose mission is nothing less than to help change the way the world treats mental health. And how do we want to do this? We want to do this by helping to get integrative approaches such as exercise, nutrition, and mind-body practices, self-care approaches, integrated into the treatment of mental illness and the promotion of mental well-being. And you notice that I said integrated, self-care and integrated. We are not talking about alternative. We do not think that there's not a place for traditional standard of care approaches. Obviously there are, but we think that there needs to be a combination of self-care approaches and healthcare approaches. And what does the John W. Brick Foundation actually do? The JWB, first, it funds and promotes evidence-based research. Second, it helps create and promote and fund programs and services. This certification is one of those services. And third, it serves as a collaborative hub to help inform and promote advancements in the field of mental health and mental well-being, hence working with the Mental Wellness Initiative, the Global Wellness Summit, Johns Hopkins, and others. As we spoke around the world, really, and a lot, of course, online, we would give these types of presentations, and afterwards, people would always say, that's great. They would agree with the philosophy and the concepts. Then they say, what would we do now? What do we do now? And that's when we realized that they really needed a roadmap, a toolkit of things that they could do to help promote mental well-being and resiliency. And we realized it was an educational challenge as much as an operational and a practical one. And that's when we started the Mental Well-Being Association, which is really the educational arm of the JWB and a certification arm. The first certification of the Mental Well-Being Association is the Mental Well-Being certification for fitness professionals. And we know that there are some other organizations out there that have mental well-being online courses and programs, but most of these follow the same general principle, and that is to identify early and to treat or medicate early. And very few, if any, are really proactive courses or certifications that deal with what the practitioner can do to help promote mental well-being, as opposed to just identifying the individual, an issue, and then turn it over to, quote, the professionals. We look at mental well-being as everybody's responsibility. We don't look at this certification as being exclusive to, quote, the fitness trainers or to the human resources or to somebody in a club or in an organization. We look at a CPR. You would never only have one person in your organization certified in CPR. You would have everybody. So that's what this certification is meant to be. And we realize that we are not going to play Dr. Google. We are not going to take the place of the mental health profession, but we are going to complement it. As I said, we're going to work together. It's an integrative process. The certification, quite frankly, is the first of many. And the latest, the newest certification, which will come out in the fall of 2025, will be for educators K through 5. Mm-hmm. Now, you notice I say educators and I say fitness professionals, not fitness trainers and not teachers. Again, we're hoping that the fitness profession industry will embrace this certification and will realize that it's everybody's responsibility to have a basic knowledge of promoting mental well-being, for themselves, for their staff, for their loved ones, for the clients they serve, and also, as I said, for themselves as well, because at some point in time, everybody will struggle with mental well-being issues. Same thing in education. We don't want just the teachers. We hope that educators in general will embrace this concept of self-care and healthcare, the integration of it, and the fact that they have a lot to do with a student's well-being. And do you know the definition? We use the term well-being. Do you know the definition of well-being? If you look it up in the dictionary, happiness.
Yeah.
We're really talking about happiness, about making people feel better, enjoying life more, and living a fuller life. That's everybody's responsibility. So again, we have that coming in the fall, and we also have behind that, we have certifications we're developing for police, for first responders, for nurses, for educators K-6 through 12, for higher education, and even for the military. Because the principles of promoting, developing and promoting and maintaining sound mental well-being, quite frankly, are very consistent across any industry and any application, any situation. It's the implementation and the application of it that varies. A personal trainer or fitness person in a gym is going to deal with different issues and different environments than a teacher in a classroom or an administrator with a staff.
Exactly. So let's dive a little deeper into what the certification is all about. Let me see if I can get this to switch. Here we go. So the certification really focuses on the four main pillars of mental well-being. And we focus on four, but there are more as well. So the first one is exercise. We have multiple objectives, but before I dive into exercise, I want to just share that, speaking of exercise, while 78% of all people exercise or move to improve their mental health and their physical well-being, many fitness professionals, based on surveys, have claimed they don't feel like they have the proper tools or they have proper knowledge to be able to help those who they serve. And I just want to also share that this certification is an online course. It's housed on the Mental Wellbeing Association.org website.
Yeah, it's a 15 to 20 hour online course.
Yeah. And in addition to that, the course includes 15 to 20 hours, but it includes 20 hours of CEC credits, that continuing education credits that fitness professionals can obtain by the accredited associations such as ACE, American Council on Exercise, NASM, and many others. Are the objectives.
What did you say that it was didactic and practical?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So the objectives of the certification itself provide a deeper understanding of how physical and mental health are connected. You learn coaching skills and communication techniques. They recognize and challenge mental health biases and stigmas. We create a safe and inclusive space to discuss mental well-being. Fitness professionals or professionals taking the certification will know when and how to refer out to other professionals, and then when to stay in their own lane based on their scope of practice. And it also includes didactic, which is classroom style or education style. That's where the evidence-based research is really shared with everyone, as well as practical applications that are appropriate for one-on-one, if you're working with one-on-one with a staff member, or with small group, 1-on-2, or even larger groups. So we include all these tools so anyone taking the certification can clearly see how it applies to their situation. There are 10 modules in total, the first being movement and exercise. And I want to share with you each of the key concepts, and it's just a brief overview of each of the key concepts, but of the four main pillars: exercise, nutrition, mind-body practices, as well as social connection. Those are the four pillars. So exercise and movement includes key concepts in exercise psychology and the link between physical activity and mood. It also explains how stress how to reduce stress by regulating not only cortisol, but also other hormones that the body secretes. Eating well and nutrition.
Well, with exercise and even with nutrition, but especially with exercise, much of the information included is covered in much of the information in the certification is gleaned from the Move Your Mental Health report of the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation. And the Move Your Mental Health report is a meta-analysis of 1,300 research studies done over a 30-year period that prove conclusively that movement benefits mental well-being. And it actually breaks down each type of movement, yoga, which is a mind movement, by cycling, high intensity, weight training, you name it, and which mental well-being, mental health issue it affects the most. For instance, did you know that 45 minutes of vigorous exercise is the equivalent to an entry-level dose of Zoloft?
That's correct. And that's from Dr. George Everly from Johns Hopkins.
Right.
If I could
So-
just come in here and really encourage everybody to download this free report from the John W. Brick Foundation for Mental Health website, Move Your Mental Health. It is truly a groundbreaking report, extremely thorough in its weighing of the evidence across movement modalities and mental health. And really, it is a landmark publication. Definitely, we'd like to salute Victor and Lynn for doing this. And it really is something that everybody should be familiar with, because it is the latest and most comprehensive overview of the link between exercise, movement, and mental well-being.
Well, thank you so much for that,
Thank you.
Jerry. All right, the next pillar is eating well and nutrition, and explains the brain-gut connection through nutritional psychology. Plus, we review the dietary guidelines and the Harvard Healthy Plate eating guidelines. The next module focuses on mindfulness and meditation. And we understand mindfulness and the role in reducing stress and enhancing mental well-being, plus review techniques on meditation, breathing, and mindful movement, and how that enhances mental well-being. And the last of the four main pillars is social connection. And we define social connection and examine the impact of loneliness and isolation, which, as we know, as Dr. Vivek Murthy has explained, that is at epidemic proportions globally.
And loneliness is the root of most mental health issues. That begins with loneliness.
Loneliness also, if I may jump in again, has been found to be as big a risk factor for death as smoking.
Yes,
Absolutely.
It cannot be underestimated. Loneliness is a pathogenic, it turns into a pathogenic issue.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Jerry. And we also explore how social support networks improve mental health and reduce stress. But there are a lot of other modules which we include, including redefining mental health, presented by Dr. Jerry Boddicker. So thank you again so much for your amazing contribution. And in this module, Jerry explains and helps other people to understand the global effects of social, economic, and environmental factors that influence mental health and well-being. And they identify common mental health conditions and the impact on mental health and well-being. In addition, we learn evidence-based research on self-care wellness pathways that can improve mental health. Another module is creating safe space. And that's where we identify biases, stigmas, and discrimination that affect individuals. We explore how mental health interests intersects with race, gender, and other marginalized identities. And we also explore and understand the impact of microaggression on body biases and body dysmorphia. Another module includes basic coaching and communication skills, where we develop communication skills to build rapport and create a supportive environment. That's really the crux to the basic foundation of coaching, and understand the value of presence, empathy, and being attuned to other people's needs. And the last module I'm going to share with you that we include is on ethics and collaboration, learning ethical requirements, including confidentiality, informed consenting, setting boundaries, staying in your lane, and then when to refer out to other professionals, collaborating with other mental health professionals, and implementing crisis management when and if necessary.
Some other topics that we include in the certification is the discussion of the dual continuum of mental health and mental well-being. Historically, mental health has been looked at as a continuum, horizontal continuum, with little or no mental health at one end, mental illness at one end, mild mental illness in the middle, and severe or high mental illness at the other end. And it was thought that you moved up and down this continuum based on your physiology, your brain chemistry, your genetics, and of course, life events. While this continuum, and we call this the pathogenic continuum because if you look at it, it's dealing with the illness. While this continuum is still relevant, what has been discovered is that, or developed is actually that there are two continuums for mental wellness and mental illness. And we still have the first continuum, but there's also a vertical continuum, which has at the top flourishing and at the bottom languishing. And you move up and down this continuum based on self-care approaches, life events, holistic approaches. And the two continuums are mutually exclusive. For instance, you can have no mental health, pathogenic, clinically diagnosed mental health illness, such as schizophrenia or depression or something that's clinical. And yet, if you lose your job, you have an accident or hurt seriously, your spouse leaves you, you drink, you smoke, you don't take care of yourself, you're on a poor diet, you can be languishing. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you can have a clinically diagnosed issue, such as schizophrenia. And if you employ the right self-care approaches, you have a support system, you have a reason for getting up in the morning, you exercise, you eat well, you have the loving support of the network, you can actually be flourishing. And how do I know this? Because I've lived it firsthand. I did not just have one brother with schizophrenia. My oldest, who passed, I had a younger brother, my brother Bob, who to this day suffers from schizophrenia and to this day is on medication. And if I could tell you, Bob was sicker than John. If I told you stories about Bob, you wouldn't believe them. I try to eliminate them from my memory. But over time, he began to become manageable. So he was living with my folks. And when my mother died, my brother Merrill and I made a promise to my mother. She hung on for 3 days in a coma. And we knew she wouldn't go because she was worried about Bob.
And your dad had already passed 6 months.
My dad had already passed.
Prior.
So we asked Bob to come in with us to the room, the bed in the living room, close to the bedroom that my dad had passed in. It was really a sad scene, quite frankly. And we had Bob tell my mother, Mom, you can go. The boys will take care of you. She passed within a half hour. And now that we had made that promise, we had to keep it. So I told my brother Merrill, because I'm living in Miami, Merrill's living in Daytona, in Orlando, and Bob's in Daytona Beach. It's only an hour from Orlando. I said, Merrill, unfortunately, you're going to have to be the main caregiver here. And you've got to start working out with Bob and getting him in shape and start really employing all these self-care approaches. So Merrill goes, yeah, I'll get him a bike. I said, you're not going to get him a bike. You're going to get 2 bikes and you're going to ride with him. To make a long story short, that was 11 years ago, 66 pounds ago. When my mother passed, remember he was living in my parents' house, we got him a caregiver to live with him. She was gone within 6 months. He has a job. He's happy. He's lost 66 pounds. His vitals are literally better than mine. I call him, I say, Bob, how you doing? Meryl's killing me, Vic. But how's your health? It's great. My blood scores. Da, 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 da.
And he gives you every detail.
He gives you every detail. Now, he's still on his medication, but it's been cut in half, maybe even more than half. He's given up smoking. He was a two-pack a day. He's given up drinking. Every now and then he'll have a drink, but rarely. And he is flourishing. The second thing that we discuss, or we want to emphasize, is that is emphasized throughout the certification, is this yin-yang concept of healthcare and self-care. Remember, think of Bob. Healthcare and self-care work together. We're integrative. We are not alternative, and there's a big difference in those two terms. And there is always, or should be always, some healthcare, some self-care in healthcare. For instance, when Bob was really sick, he needed he needed institutionalization sometimes. But there should have been some healthcare, self-care in there as well, and there wasn't. And with the self-care part, we didn't tell Bob, get off your meds, don't see your doctor. No, there's always some healthcare and self-care, but they work together. Historically, people have thought of mental health as from the neck up, all in the head, all in the mind, psychoanalysis, the whole bit, and physical health and physical fitness from the neck down. And we now know how intimately related everything is. It's really going back to the ancients, the Greeks, the Egyptians, ancient civilizations. They all understood the connection, mind, body, and spirit.
Very good. So as Jerry very aptly explained, we include the Move Your Mental Health Report, which is a very inclusive report on the John W. Brick Mental Health website. It is on a drop-down menu under resources.
So, and again, one of the statistics from one of the facts from the Move Your Mental Health Report is that 45-minute bout is that the best way, or one of the best ways, the best type of exercise to positively affect depressive symptoms, not so much depression as the illness, but depressive symptoms, is a 45-minute bout of vigorous combination of cardio and strength. We already told you that a 45-minute bout of vigorous exercise is the equivalent of an entry-level dose of Zoloft. What is the connection here? What is the constant here? The word vigorous. The word vigorous, what we're really talking about is positive stress.
Yeah.
And positive stress is essential for growth and development, both physically and mentally. And it is best illustrated in the Yerkes-Dodson law of positive stress. You have heard, we have all heard, stress is negative, it's a killer, you've got to avoid stress. Nothing could be further from the truth. Stress is essential for growth and development. The Yerkes-Dodson law states that performance improves with stress. The rise is performance, the run is stress, with stress to a point. And I'm not just talking about mental health performance. I'm not just talking about athletic performance. You play an instrument. If all you ever play is chopsticks, you will never improve. You've got to be put into stress, like I was when I was playing the violin. It was way out of my stress comfort level. And I'll show you how that affected you. But the point is, positive stress is essential for growth and development in all phases of life.
It's basically stepping out of your comfort zone.
Correct. So this is the explanation of the Yerkes-Dodson law. Not enough stress, you get boredom, lack of complacency. You get, but once you start increasing stress, you start getting interested, engaged, you get into a comfort zone. And it's important, like Lynn said, to get out of the comfort zone and be challenged. And once you get challenged with as an instrument in an educational class, in a master's course, and a weight training program, and also with your mental health and development, you get into the optimal range. You get too much stress, and this is like my dad said about the stress. Is stress bad? It depends. My dad would always say that depends. Dad, can a lion beat a tiger in a fight? That depends. What do you mean, Dad? Well, is the lion an adult male and the tiger a cub? It depends. So stress can be good or bad. It depends. Too much stress, you get fatigue, you get exhaustion, and then you get anxiety and paranoia, and you actually can break down. Best example of too much stress, Simone Biles was the best gymnast in the world. Many of you know, I'm sure. In 2020, she had so much stress on her to, even as great as she was, she could not possibly meet that stress, that pressure of being better than anyone ever by light years. And she broke down and literally had to drop out of the competition of the 2020 Olympics. We got to know Simone Biles through the Global Wellness Summit. She began implementing self-care approaches with healthcare approaches. She came back in 2024, and as you know, she won, and many of you I'm sure know, she won the all-around championship at the Olympics, but because she got back into that positive stress mode.
So back to the certification. Let me just share this as well. While evidence is compelling, do you know what the best exercise is to do for mental well-being? Do you know? It's whatever they will do. Whatever they will do, and do it consistently. So if people need to find and discover what is really best for them, and then they will be compliant and help to improve go from languishing toward flourishing, regardless of their.
One of the mistakes people make is they think it has to be traditional exercise.
Correct.
It
Correct.
could be a nature walk. It could be gardening. It could be meditation. Move your mind, move your body, whatever you will do. If you're going to walk your dog, there's two ways to walk it. One is as an aha walk, just enjoying everything, and the other is a vigorous walk. Sometimes you need vigorous activity, but it can come in different forms. Whatever, like Lynn says, whatever it is that you will do and be consistent with will be your best exercise for whatever ails you.
Exactly.
And right now we're going to get into that, an example of an alternative form of exercise you would never think has physical and physiological and psychological advantages, but Lynn will explain to you.
Yes, exactly. So here's the deal, though. I wanted to also share that in addition to some of the traditional types of self-care approaches that we've discussed, there's ongoing CEC courses and furthering education and sharing of evidence-based research that come out on a regular basis after completing the certification. We are providing monthly courses for some non-traditional self-care approaches as well, including clinical aromatherapy, forest bathing, immersing in nature, eating disorders, red flags, water therapy, as well as laughter yoga. And that's what Victor's talking about. Maybe perhaps since this is a beautiful day and life is not a spectator sport, I think we should practice some self-care.
I think that's a good idea.
Oh, I'm glad you agree. Well, there's a saying, when you hear, you forget, when you see, you remember, but when you do, you know. But since I love laughter yoga, I'd like to share a little practice with you right now. It's very simple and easy to do. All you have to do is sit up or stand up as tall as you can, connect the dots between your belly button and your spine. Let's roll your shoulders up and back to accentuate great posture. Okay, here we go.
The hormonal benefits?
Yes, I'm going to do that too. Okay. So while you're in your great posture and getting ready to laugh, here's the thing. Laughter yoga, it doesn't matter whether it's a real laugh or a fake laugh, your body secretes the same hormonal response. I call this a dose, an acronym DOSE, dose of happiness. D stands for dopamine. It's the feel-good hormone. O is for oxytocin. It's your connection, your human connection hormone. S is for serotonin. It's your mood regulating hormone. And E is for endorphins. It's your body's natural painkiller. And it's also secreted with moderate to vigorous physical activity. So let's go ahead and get started. Roll the shoulders back. We're going to go ahead and remember, whether you're fake it or it's a real laugh, it doesn't matter. Your body's going to secrete the same hormonal response. Reach your arms forward toward me. Take a nice deep breath. Inhale. hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and exhale, and just raise your arms up, let your head drop back. All right, so that's the basic movement part. It's called laughter yoga because there is a lot of inhalation and exhalation, a lot of transfer of oxygen to your brain and your body. So let's try that again. This time we're going to go ahead and inhale, hold it, and lift your arms up and give a little laugh. It's just a warm up. Here we go. Arms forward, inhale, hold it, and exhale. That's pretty good. How about one more time? I know you're feeling more comfortable now. Here we go. Inhale, hold it, and exhale.
I wonder what the neighbors say.
Oh my gosh. Who cares? All right. One of my favorite laughter yoga exercises, and we mimic and pantomime different things. It's not, remember, laughter yoga is not based on comedy or jokes. It is just pure, unconditional laughter. So let's get into it now. We have your palm up like this, and you have a tube of laughter cream. Are you ready? You're going to turn that tube over and give it a big squeeze. Okay, throw that tube away, and it is laughter cream now. So, let's go ahead and rub these hands together. It makes you laugh even harder. And rub it up your arm, and in your arm. Across your body, into the other, and down your arm. And I hear that it makes you more youthful, more beautiful, and more alive. Rub it on your face. Okay, take some deep breaths. Now, I wonder, how do you feel? I feel this, gosh, in my belly. I feel like I've just done about 50 crunches. I feel my shoulders much more relaxed, like I don't feel that anxiety or stress weighing me down anymore. That's the thing about laughter yoga. Because you're breathing so deeply and connecting that and adding more oxygen to your brain and your body, it's also equivalent to doing about 15 to 20 minutes of cardio. But 15 to 20 minutes of laughter yoga nonstop is really most beneficial for mental health and well-being. So wake up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror, and give yourself a good hearty laugh. And if you have trouble doing that, just go to your kids, go to your grandkids, and laugh with them, because they just laugh at pretty much everything and make the world very joyful.
And you can even do it on the subway.
You can. Two things here. One is when our kids were young, and we would all eat our meals together. Every dinner, we would ask, what's the funniest thing you had happen to you today? It's a very good practice.
Oh, yeah.
And the second question, which is even more important, I'm from Hawaii. I'm not from Hawaii, but I grew up in Hawaii formative years. And the question is, do they allow loud laughter in Hawaii, or just aloha?
All right. So thank you so much. How can people find out more information about the mental well-being certification for fitness professionals, or any of our future certifications? On mentalwellbeingassociation.org. And on that website, there's a big green button. You click on that to learn more information. In conclusion, the mental well-being certification for fitness professionals is founded on evidence-based research to help practitioners to be mental well-being change agents. And in so doing, help put a dent in the universe for mental well-being.
And if not us, who?
If not now, when?
Bravo.
Thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank you both. That was fantastic. Do you have a little clip on the JW Brick or Mental Wellbeing Association for Laughter Therapy?
Yes, we do. We've shared it a couple times through a couple different podcasts, and where we go into more detail, more information about laughter yoga. It actually was started by a physician in Mumbai, India. And now
Yes.
there are laughter clubs all over the world.
And you know, one of the great things about laughter yoga, as it's called in India, is that it's being used with people with dementia. And because there's no cognitive component, there's no joke, you don't have to get a joke to laugh.
Yeah.
And so older folks with dementia are doing this laughter yoga or laughter therapy, and there's a huge improvement in their mental well-being because of this, without the worry of what's the joke, because there is no joke.
Well, here's two things to ponder, Jerry. Often, things that have been said for decades, centuries, for how long, are very true. How many times have you heard laughter is the best medicine? It really is.
It really is.
And how many times have you heard for such a wide variety of things, fake it until you make it? And with laughter, you fake it until you make it. I don't know anybody that can hear this young lady laugh, not laugh themselves. So first you start off faking it, and then you start laughing with her and at her. And what difference does it make?
Yeah.
You're laughing. And it's a belly laugh, and you laugh like nobody's watching.
Exactly.
Like on a subway.
It's a deep human reflex.
Exactly.
And,
Just like seeing someone else yawn. So oftentimes we yawn too.
Don't get me started. It's 9 o'clock my time in the evening.
Yeah.
Lynn and Victor, that was truly inspirational. A fantastic performance, ending on a happy, laughing note. And I'd just like to ask if anybody has any questions right now. We have the chat there, and we've had some comments. If nobody, any questions? Not seeing any come through, but you've shared so much. You've given us the links for diving a whole lot deeper. The idea of taking what started as a continuing education course for fitness trainers and taking this to educators and emergency personnel and the defense forces, and spreading it so far and wide, is truly brilliant and inspirational. It has to be done, and as you say, if not us, whom? And if not now, when? It's basically see the job, do the job, and you've really done that, and we're so appreciative of your efforts in this and sharing this with us. Thank you both so much. You're both members of the Mental Wellness Initiative of the Global Wellness Institute, and we're thrilled to have you as partners in this and to bring this truly inspiring webinar to everybody through the MWI, courtesy of you both, the John W. Brick Foundation for Mental Health and the Mental Wellbeing Association. Thank you, Lynn and Victor. Thank you, Victor and Lynn.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
All the best then. Bye-bye.
And where can people find the link or the recording? Will that be on the LinkedIn?
Yes, we will post that. It's a very good point. We will post that. I want to thank Kiko Tatrielli, who's on this call and who handles all of the social media posting for the Mental Wellness Initiative, for which we're immensely appreciative. And Kiko will post that, as he has for the announcement of this webinar, through the MWI LinkedIn
Beautiful.
account.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both, and
All
bye-bye,
right.
everyone.
Have a blessed day.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.